Oh my God, I'm 50 and I finally figured out self-love. It's not about perfection, it's about being raw, real, and authentic, and embracing who we are. So I dare you to join me on this journey. I'm Tina, and you're watching Unfiltered Self-Love.
All right. So, hi, Tina. I'm so
Hi,
glad to see
Janet.
you.
You too.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're here on this interview with me. I've been really excited to have you here because I've been talking a lot about fear and letting go of fear, and you are the expert in fear. So, will you introduce yourself a bit?
Sure, sure. And then, it's when you say that, I would love to share a little bit about the journey. But I've written this book called Facing Your Fears and Following Your Dreams. And it's on Amazon on my website also. But I wrote the book and I used fear as my main emphasis as a psychotherapist. That right now, today, people are coming in with anxiety and fear in such a overdose, I would say. And I was raised in a home where fear was very much promoted by my mom, not by my dad. He did the opposite, thank goodness. But I decided in my 30s, I said, I'm not going to feel fear anymore. And when I did that, I was able to challenge myself, kind of what you've been talking about on your podcast, to say, I'm going to do it anyway. And I camped on the beach in Mexico. I traveled to Africa. I went to South Africa during apartheid. I walked across Spain by myself. I just did everything I could do to make sure that I'm good with myself. There may be frightening things happening around me or in the world, but I'm really self-reliant and good with myself. And so it's hard for me to even get fearful. It's really interesting. It's been a process, though.
Yeah, that is amazing because I still feel fear and anxiety. I did this morning, actually. I woke up feeling a bit out of integrity with myself, with my work. And then I just got up. I started crying and I said, you know what? Stop this. And I got out and I just did a power walk. And I walked today. I walked 7 miles today. And I walked along the river and just got myself out of my head. Um,
So
but it's
exactly.
the fear around what caused the anxiety, I think.
Right, right. And it's also, if you're thinking of the future, we can then get fearful if we're right in the moment, we're not. But EMDR that uses the eye sensitive movements, that started because people realize that the walking that we do or running or anything that you might do, that changes what your trauma and what your brain is thinking about because the bilateral movements get rid of the trauma and the fear and the anxiety. So what a wonderful thing to do. And I have a commitment every morning to do 6 miles. And I do that religiously. I don't care if I'm tired, didn't get enough sleep or whatever. I'm out there because I know I will be a better version of myself.
Yeah, so it just brought me back and centered me. I'm tired because I was crying this morning, but it centered me. And I think it's all that pent up things that the fear related that, oh my God, I didn't do this. I have this workload and this didn't get done. And what do I do about this? And then, so I just, I'm the kind that just lets it go straight away and then go do something about it.
Okay. So the tears are good. When I
Yeah.
talk to clients, I say, every tear you cry, you're going to live longer.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
I know. I know. Because, we don't want that bottled up. We don't want it inside of us because we're all walking around with broken hearts on some level, whether it's a relationship or childhood or looking out on the world or our children or whatever. I mean, we are walking around the walking wounded, people say, right?
Yeah. I mean, I was going to ask you too, does fear have different levels? Or is it just fear, or is there different types of fear that we create?
So that's such an interesting question, Tina, because we're only born with two fears, the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. So, Tina, the rest of our fears are all learned. And so that means any fear that you're feeling is a learned behavior besides the fear of loud noises and falling. And if you look at that, anything we've learned, we can unlearn. So as you're walking and feeling any kind of anxiety or fear, you're going, wow, I just learned this. Where did I learn it from? And what do I want to do with it now? And I have people right now that won't leave the house. They're the news, and I know you're in England, but here in the United States, it's really tough. And so people are kind of doing that hiding and being the turtle in their shell and just feeling overwhelmed. And part of it is we as human beings can only take 3% change in our lives. What's happening right now on a global scale is much greater than 3% change. It's happening worldwide. And so we as human beings, and you being as sensitive as you are, you're going to wake up with that anxiety and go, what's going on with me? What if it's the world and you're just so sensitive, you're feeling it? Because I get very empathetic, sensitive people, and it really isn't them anymore. It's the world.
Interesting.
And so, yes, different levels.
That's really interesting.
Isn't
Yeah,
it?
because I was thinking there's fear of going for something. Like I have a friend and he's like, I'm up for a promotion. I go, well, take it. And he said, well, I don't know. And I go, well, what's the problem? And he's like, well, I have to go through all these classes just to get the promotion. And I'm wondering if it's the fear of being promoted, like the more responsibility, compared to a fear of, like, for example, me being on video, that was a fear of mine. So I feel a different level of fear, or is it just still all the same feeling of fear? Yeah.
So, the weird part, fear and excitement are right next to each other. So with your friend, we need to change it to excitement. And also for you. This world is so exciting. Every moment they're beautiful. I'm looking out at this tree and then, the beauty of the world and it's all exciting. And we are here to share our energy. So thank you for getting on podcasts and saying, I'm going to do this. And I think your friend is afraid of success, not failure. He's afraid of success. He is not allowing himself to be all that he wants to be.
Okay. That's interesting. Okay. So there's the underlying what that means, what the fear means. And like you said before, is it looking back to say, where is this coming from? Where did this come from in our past? And just healing ourselves through it to kind of eliminate fear? Is that what you're saying?
Right. So, Tina, I don't know about you, but if you look at your background, like I can see my mom, when thunderstorms would come, she'd be in the closet and it would be like, I love rain. I love thunderstorms. But she was role modeling that storms and rain. And I know that some of them are tough, but she was role modeling fear about nature. And so if you had any of that, if anybody in your life was telling you, you need to be afraid of animals, or you need to be afraid of change, or you need to be afraid of heights, or any of those things that are learned behaviors, then you can go, where did I get this? And do I want to be like that person? Because I know who I want to be like, and it's not somebody hiding in the closet.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I will go tell you I've just to let everyone know, I've already told Janet this story, but I'm going to share it anyway. So my friend is a tarot reader, and she read my cards and everything was great. My whole life looked good. My future looks bright. And she says, but this card, I go, what's that card? It's fear. If you let go of fear, this is the stuff that will happen for you in your life. So the success, the love of my life, the whatever else I wanted, the abundance that I'm looking for, and the freedom. So ever since I was practicing fear. So fear is practicing letting go of fear. Is it a conscious thing that we have to think about? Can you?
Until it becomes a habit. Once it becomes a habit of thinking positively, thinking about what you want and not what you fear. When we go towards desire, it's so much stronger of an emotion than fear even. So if you look at how creating, like you're creating the podcast, you're creating a future for yourself and your son and all of that, there's a lot of energy behind that. Fear is a like stopping energy. And so, yes, we can definitely learn it. It's so fun to kind of think about how we as human beings we're programmed. Tina, we're just programmed, and we got to change the programming. And once we change it, I'm thinking about my kids. Tina and I have been friends for decades, and I can't even remember when we connected before. But I took my kids to Costa Rica, and they wanted to bungee jump off this old bridge. Now, imagine bungee jumping towards rocks on an old rickety bridge. We'd already jumped out of airplanes, did the parachute jumping and things like that, which there's a little bit of safety in that. But my 15-year-old is out on this little ledge, and she's shaking and she's thinking and she's trying to figure out, do I really jump headfirst towards those rocks? And we were kind of frightened for her because seeing how she was shaking and all that. And all of a sudden she jumped. And when she came back up, I said, Hannah, how did you do that? And she said, I had to realize that I had to be okay with dying, and then I could jump.
Wow.
Is that the most amazing thing for a 15-year-old to do? And I don't recommend any mom doing the kind of stuff I did with her kids. But they're very courageous human beings.
Wow. Yeah, my son's completely opposite. That's amazing though. And that's so deep. The thought process was so deep. And being okay with that. Most people at that age can't even recollect that. Just like
Right.
don't
No,
even think
it
about
is
it.
actually very funny. And she's in her master's program to be a therapist, so she's going to be a great
Right.
therapist.
Yeah.
And my middle daughter is too. And I love who they turned out to be. As I get feedback, there are times that they just thought this was normal. Let's go parachute jumping. Let's go bungee jumping.
Is that where you started your whole Your Facing Your Fears book? Is that where you started when you're with your kids?
Tina, the way Megan, my middle child, was 16 and she was homesick, and she said, Mom, I want this video called The Secret. And I said, okay, sweetie, I'll get it for you. And so we watched it together, and I went, oh my gosh, that's everything I believe. I got to start helping people with this. And so I started building up groups and then coming up with exercises that they could do for why are they sabotaging themselves? Why are they not allowing themselves to dream? And as I started doing it, I thought, there's a book here. And I know you helped me with
Yeah, I
it. And
did.
so, so now 52 chapters, you have a whole year's worth if you do one a week. And so many of my clients are going through it. I just love how I have one guy who he called and he said, I don't know if you want to work with me. I'm so damaged. I was abused and
Wow.
all this stuff. I know he was such a sweetheart. And I said, you're perfect. And now he went and faced his parents and told his father, you will never talk to me like that again. And he has just grown. He's going to become a fireman now. And he's just watching that. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm watching miracles. And I think your life right now is a miracle.
It really is. My awakening. I just said to myself, it's freedom. I want freedom, full freedom. I want full self-expression. And I've always knew what full self-expression was. I don't think I practice it fakely, right? Like fake it till you make it kind of feeling. Because I was always fearful, low self-esteem. And now it's like, I use the phrase, who cares? I do care, but that's my way of putting that aside and saying it's okay to go and live full on and say what I need
Tina,
to
that's so
say.
cool. So what you're really doing is saying it's more important for me to be myself than it is to be fearful.
Yes.
And once you get to that place, there's a wonderful exercise. I don't know if you remember it, where you draw what the world sees. Like if they see Tina Hiatt, what they see on the outside of the paper, and then you unfold it and you draw on the inside what you're really like. And as I did that exercise year after year, it all of a sudden changed where the outside and the inside were totally the same. And I went, oh,
Wow.
I've done it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I
So,
vaguely remember that exercise. I actually still have your workbook. I've never,
that's so,
through my moves and everything, I've always kept it. It's been important to me. So yeah,
wow.
it's really
Hey,
great. I do encourage everyone to get it. So it's helpful because fear
thank
holds
you,
us
thank you.
back.
The fact that it's gone all the way to England. Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure. I mean,
Yeah.
it's worth it. Yeah, people don't teach it. People don't teach letting go of fear and what that means and what that means for that individual. And you do. You help people through that.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Do you understand, Tina, why they don't? We have been programmed in the past generations that if we can be controlled by fear, and there's a huge movement to do that right now, because there are more people like you and I that are saying, I don't want to be afraid anymore, and I will stand up for myself or others. And that programming started in religious organizations, in governments, in slavery, and all that. And if we look at history, history has said if you're strong and rich and powerful, you're okay. If you're not, you better be afraid because bad things are going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you help people overcome that type of fear? Because I know it's kind of rampant right now in the States.
Right. So, I have people singing because we have a throat chakra, and maybe your lady who does the reading and stuff talks about when you're speaking your truth, the fear goes away. And one of the things that helps us, I'm not a singer, but I sing all the time. I have these two grandkids, and they're always laughing because I'm always singing. But it keeps that throat chakra open. And Tina, you think about musicians and people who are out there, they sing, but they also tell their truth. And I'm just supporting who they are, no matter what their truth is. But they don't hold back from Eminem to Taylor Swift to whoever it might be. Even Elvis, I mean, 100 years ago, was trying to say, we need to be together. We need to help each other. We need to stop hurting each other. I mean, these people are role models for us to sing and tell our truth.
And music does have a great effect on people. For example, that's what I listen. I have a whole playlist that is empowering for me. Not maybe not for other people, but for me. And those songs, like you said, these these singers really, I can relate to it, in other words. So I would turn on my music loud and I dance around the house, belting out the songs, and my son will walk in going, Mom, you're weird, and walk right out into his room. 16. But it makes me feel better. So that's actually what I did today when I went on my walk after my cry. I put on my headset and I listened to that track, and I'm dancing while I'm walking, I'm singing, people are looking, and it just pulled me out of what I was thinking. It's like a pattern interrupt for me, but I felt so much better after. So yeah, it has a
Do
lot
you
to
know
do
where
with
yours
it.
came from? Where did you learn this fear?
My fear. Um, my parents are fearful people. Um, Mom is fearful of everything. Uh, a lot of like the littlest things to big things. And my grandmother was always worrying about something. Oh, be careful, be careful.
Yeah.
So I was always careful. Um, Never out too much or too loud. My my family always it stifles me, not on purpose. I was loved, thoroughly loved. That's why they did that, thinking this is okay. So I'm not blaming them for anything, but it's more about what they were fearful of was safety, everything. My mother is Mexican, so a lot of people growing up in Colorado were prejudiced against her and said some really and done really nasty things to my mother. So the fear behind other people. So that's kind of where it came from. Um, it's just what the family was. They're just fearful.
Right. And you can see the cultural thing. But Tina, it's so interesting. If you look at sayings like don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, do you know where that came from?
No.
So what they used to do, this is how crazy our world was. And these are our ancestors. They used to have just a like once a year bath or whatever, where they heat up water. The father would get in first and get clean, then the mother, then the oldest child, and then down the line, they'd get into the bathtub. By the time the baby got in there, it was so muddy and dirty, they didn't know if the baby was there or not. How crazy is that? I mean, they didn't even name babies till they were 2 years of age because babies didn't live that long. So, of course, they were fearful. And now our fears are more imaginary, or I'm not sure. Our fears, I'm thinking, there are things going on in the world, but we don't have to be afraid. We have to shine our light. And that's where generations before, they had to be afraid of what was going on. We're advanced now. We can change that energy and go, I'm not going to be afraid anymore. I'm going to create a better world for your son, for my kids, for my grandkids. That's what our mission is. That it's really changed. It's
Yeah,
really changed.
agreed. I mean, there's even a fear of for women going out in the cities by themselves. It's late at night. And I had friends say, male friends, say, be careful when you come home and watch yourself. And I said to them, I don't attract that. That's not the kind of energy I attract because I am not fearful and I'm smart, street smart, where you just know your surroundings. And if you intuitively don't go down that alley, then don't go down that alley.
Right. And so that intuition will tell you where you're safe or not safe. But the other part is we exude an energy. And I think if I walked by a rapist or a killer, and he might not go for someone my age anyway, but he wouldn't come towards me because there's a different energy. And I know when I walked across Spain all by myself, 500 miles, I was in my 60s and I'm walking, and I know when I got home, people said, how did you do that by yourself? I never thought twice about it because I felt very protected energetically.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's it. The feeling, is it the feeling of being feeling, is it the feeling or is it the knowing that we are? It's a knowing.
It's the knowing. Like I'll laugh, I'll come downstairs and I'll go, oh my gosh, I forgot to lock the door. Or I'll come home and my daughter had left it unlocked for a week. And I go, I know we're fine. It's like,
My late husband used to leave our doors open and windows open and car doors open all the time. And I'm like, lock it, lock it. He's like, well, we're fine. We're okay. So yeah, just learning to get rid of that fear. And we were okay. We were fine.
well, did he not have fear or was he just not in touch?
I think more not in touch. Yeah.
There's both,
Yeah.
and it's okay. They've done studies on people that actually can't feel fear. So whatever center in the brain that registers fear, they don't feel it, but they don't live as long as the average person because they don't feel fear. But I read the story about this woman and she was being attacked by somebody with a knife. And when he's like trying to pull the knife out her throat or whatever, she just looked at him and said, I don't understand why you're doing this. Why would you? And she's like having this whole conversation. And the guy looked at her like, I'm getting out of here. You're crazy, lady. But that's how she approached it. Because I
With
want to understand.
curiosity, that I always that's really interesting because that's how I'm approaching life right now with curiosity and people and why I'm like, why did they say that? Or they must be having a bad day and not like taking it personally anymore. Sometimes I do, but it's again a practice, like you said. It's a habit that we need to build. So yeah, that's really interesting because even at work, dealing with other people, different nationalities, cultures, and they say something, and you're like, oh, that was rude. But then you have to step back and be curious. Why did they say it like that? Is it their culture or are they angry? They're trying to be nice? Or what is it that the driving factor behind it? So,
I love that curiosity and that interest. I use, oh, that's interesting a lot, that's interesting. But I remember having a housekeeper from the Philippines. And she would say things like to one of us, like she'd say to me, you're looking old and tired. Or she'd say to my kids, you're looking fat or whatever. And then I found out from people that were from the Philippines, being critical is a way to show love and that you care about people. And I went, oh, so she cared about us because it sure felt terrible.
it did.
I
There
know.
is this comedian. I just saw a clip on Instagram. I think it was a she. She was saying, "Oh yeah, so you have your son. Oh, my little boy, you're so sweet. Oh, you could do no wrong." And then you have the daughter, the mother and daughter. You look like you're getting fat. It's just that.
Do you understand the cultural just being female that we've had, and you've had, growing up in Colorado and stuff like that with being Hispanic, which what a wonderful, loving group of people are Hispanics. And why were we programmed to be afraid of somebody from a different country? I know when you travel, you must see people are wonderful in all different countries. And yeah.
Yeah, so I've been dating since summer last year, and not, I mean, all different nationalities, Muslims and just British and just all these different nationalities and cultures and religions. And it's been the most exciting, fascinating learning experience of my life. And just walking down the street here in London, I could hear 10 different dialects, five, six different languages as I'm walking down the street. And just, and I'm very curious. I'm asking them questions. I am a marketer, so I do like to gather data.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what about this? And they're explaining about how they treat women and their culture and what that means and why there's a stereotype and we're not all that way. So it's been quite eye-opening. I feel very naive out here because, being raised in Colorado and rest most my adult life in Southern California, I feel quite, yeah. I'm like, what do you mean? What's going on?
I know we have so much to learn from each other and to understand with compassion. That's what you're talking about. And you really, to me, brought up the four agreements where you don't take things personally, you don't make assumptions, you don't talk badly about yourself or others, and you always do your best, the four agreements. That if we all on the planet lived our lives like that. So I know I had a client and she was so sweet to tell me when I put my foot up, kind of like crossing my leg, she goes, when the bottom of your foot shows towards me, that is a horrible thing in our culture. And I went, oh my goodness, thank you for telling me. I had no idea. She wasn't offended because she knew she'd been here long enough to know that we're unaware no, of that. But look at all those things that as you're dating, you'll have no idea what's pushing a button in somebody else. And all you can do is figure out you might have buttons, you might get triggered, but we don't want to get triggered. We want to go, wow, something about what he said or whatever is pushing a button in me. What do I need to explore so I don't have buttons pushed? When somebody cuts you off on the freeway, it's like, it feels awful, but I have to go, I hope you make it to the doctor's on time, or I do something to try to
Yeah.
change my thinking so that I don't have the fear or the negativity.
Oh, that's great. But it's in the moment thing because, like you said, those habits are so ingrained in most of us. But the awareness that we're thinking it, we can shift it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you have, it's funny, the seat is getting uncomfortable, but you have these triggers that go off and they're from our childhood, and anybody can push that button and we don't even know it's coming or whatever. And you'll feel your heart, your stomach, something will get tight and you'll go, ooh, okay. And the kind of the immediate feeling is attack or defend or something. But if you take a deep breath and go, I want to explore this later on and figure out what it is, but I'm going to let it go for right now. And then go off later and go, where did that come from? Was I seeing her like my mother, or was I seeing it like a boss I had, or a boyfriend, an ex, or whatever it might be? And putting that onto them.
Yeah. So what I love about your way, Janet, is you're not, you have awareness to you. And when you're with people, I've seen in the past and myself just change happen for people because I always said, oh, I don't want a therapist. I want a coach. But you're the best of both worlds. You're,
That's so sweet, Tina. Thank you. Thank you. Being on the planet as long as I have and doing this work for as long as I have, I've been so lucky. We get these gifts of that sensitivity, the intuition, and maybe in childhood we're taught to not pay attention to that or to quiet it down. And now, like the place you're at, and for myself, it's like, bring it on. I want to get that intuition. I want to understand. I want to use that gift that we have
yeah.
and that light.
Yeah. And I feel it's like we're living fully because of that. Like life is not about, most people think, in my experience, life is about living fully, is about traveling and having the yacht and doing this and having the money and, retiring. And I'm like, that's not living life fully. Living life fully is always having a smile on my face because I enjoy the little things in life and what life is giving me today and all those blessings, because it's our blessing here now in the moment and it's not out there to get. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
That's wonderful. So that means it's a high vibrational level. And so have you heard about how we all vibrate, and the normal person vibrates at 300? And I don't think it's RPMs, but I use RPMs.
Yeah.
Have you heard about this?
Yeah, go ahead
Or
though.
don't
Yeah, please
Okay.
go.
And so the Dalai Lama, who lives in the state of joy, Dalai Lama in his 80s, he's at 800. And if the average person's at 300, maybe you and I are 5 or 6 or something that, at a higher level. But I want to show you the difference, because there's a story of the Dalai Lama meeting this reporter, and the reporter's pulling up in his car behind the car of the Dalai Lama. And the reporter's sitting there going, oh my gosh, I'm meeting the Dalai Lama. What will he think about me? I'm so anxious, that kind of thing. And he watches as the Dalai Lama gets out of his car, and the Dalai Lama's jumping up and down going, I'm so excited to meet you. I'm so excited to meet you. That's 800. The 300 or 400 that the reporter was, the worry, the anxiety. That's an example. And if we think of that happiness that I have it when I'm with my grandchildren, if Connor wants to get in, play in the sand, I'll get in the sand with him and we'll roll around, we'll play in the mud puddles. I'm sure it's hard on his mom, but that's enjoying the moment.
Yeah, it really is. Is it like a childlike behavior or childlike feeling?
It's the curiosity you're talking about. Look at how, he will find so much fun in a roly-poly bug or on a leaf or on a flower or whatever might be out there, or the cat that's going by. And why do we lose that? Because we're told, focus on school, make good money, look right, do things right. And all of a sudden that curiosity that you have, and it's in a strong suit right now, it goes away because we don't have energy or time for it. We're not even allowed or encouraged to do it. And that curiosity will save our planet if we can use the creativity, the curiosity, the love of life. Our planet can heal.
Ah, that's beautiful. I love that. It's a good reminder for all of us to just think that way. Just the curiosity of life.
You can be in that state. It's actually a state,
It's a state
that we keep ourselves in.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in
and
and out, Janet.
I'm so happy. It can be like this joy that radiates from our soul, from our spirit, from our heart. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in and out of it, in and out. But it's the awareness. I think I'm just building the habit right now. Yeah.
And it gets easier with practice and time, because that's what our spirit really wants. I was having a massage. This was about a year ago, and the massage lady goes, "Who's that dancing inside?" I said, "Oh, that's my soul. My spirit is always dancing." And I thought, how did you know? But she could feel it.
That's amazing.
I know.
Wow.
I know. So we're talking about a lot of intuitive people out there. And if you felt your spirit, because yours is the dancer too. When you talked about freedom, it was like, oh, I was thinking of that, all people die, some people never live. You're saying, I want to be the one who lives.
Yeah.
We will die, or whatever that is that happens at one point, but let's really live until that moment.
Yeah. And what are we going to do for the rest of our lives? What's those decisions? Because I had a lot of death around me in the last 5 years, and it's eye-opening. What am I choosing? I'm choosing my health and well-being. I'm choosing to enjoy people in my life, to only allow those people in my life that light me up, that hold me to a higher standard, and not let myself not enjoy my life. I like the song. I'm terrible about remembering songs, but Lady Gaga, in one of her songs, she's like, "Don't be a drag, be a queen." So every time I'm in this funky state, I'm like, "Hey, don't be a drag. Sit up, stand up, and go."
And it's,
Pull yourself
sometimes
out.
I'll like, either have whatever, not enough sleep, and I'll go, come on, Janet, you've got this, like the cheerleader that says, you can do this, and yeah, and go on. It's been a long time since I've seen you, but I see, and I hope you feel the transformation of the freedom and the light that's coming into your life, and how exciting that has to be for you, your son, your future, all the people that love and care about you.
Yeah.
So fun.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks. I'm having a blast. I think this is the best time I've ever felt in my whole life. I've never felt
That's so
this much
nice.
freedom and joy and courage and confidence ever. And it's just, that's what I'm attracting in my work. It doesn't feel like work anymore. It feels like fun and play. And I'm laughing and not taking work seriously. I shouldn't do that because it doesn't look well in the office, but that's how I feel about it. And I'm excited to meet new people. And it, yeah, that's just how life is working right now.
No, totally. And it isn't even working. You're allowing it, and it's wonderful. And Tina, because I have a client in a few minutes,
Yeah.
I end up having to work, not having, but choosing to work on Saturdays,
Yeah.
and it's really wonderful. But I have so enjoyed this. It's
Yeah.
wonderful to be with
So
you.
you have a podcast. Where can people find your podcast?
Oh, you're so sweet. It's Janet Whitney, MFT, which is Marriage Family Therapist, on YouTube. And there are over 50 little short videos that are maybe 8 minutes long, but they're how to change negative thinking to positive thinking, how to use the four agreements, how to have courage. And a lot of these things that are in the Facing Your Fears program I cover. And it's really fun to just give a little boost out there. And so if anybody wants to look at that,
And do
that would
you
be great
do
to have.
your groups online? Can you do that, or is it all face to face?
I'm doing both Zoom and in person right
Okay.
now. And as new adventures are coming up, because I know they are in the near future, I'll be doing a lot more Zoom because I'll be traveling and doing some fun things.
Yeah,
So
come visit me. It's so great. She's like England. No.
no, I loved England. I love Spain. I love Portugal. I love every country I've ever been to. I love the people.
Well,
Yeah.
it's because you're there.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Yeah.
You're so
No,
sweet.
you exude it. It's great. All right. Thank you very much, Janet. And I'll let you know when this your